Hello, everyone. Welcome back. This is 30 Days of Dopamine. I'm Annalisa from Eye Candy Quilts, and today we're going to talk about the importance of play and experimenting in your creativity. And we have Brittany from the House That Lars Built. Hi,
Hi, how are you? It's good to meet with you.
it's good to meet with you too. Thank you for letting me just randomly, email you and not say who is this creepy person that's just spamming me.
Oh, we've been on Instagram. We know each other. It's great.
So we chatted a little bit before we started recording that I have been following along with the House That Lars Built for years. And the reason why I thought that you would be perfect, I know, I was like, I'm your internship with what Jonathan Adler and your cards that you have like the Christmas ones that were like the I remember those cards. Yeah, no, I've followed along for a long time. So and again, I remember a lot of things. So it sounds creepier when I say it out loud. These are probably internal thoughts, but it's okay. So what I always really loved about you and the house that Lars built is that you know nothing is off limits. You will craft and create anything and everything. And I think there's just so much value in just trying. So tell for people who haven't been, creeping on all of your Instagram and websites and all the other stuff. Tell everybody else about the house that Lars built and Brittany Jepsen and all that good stuff.
So I started the house that Lars built in 2008. It was a blog for I went to grad school for interior design, and I started it more as a portfolio piece. Like this was in like the days when mommy bloggers were just starting out, and I didn't really know what it was, and I didn't think there was really a spot, so I just started it for school and kept it up. I started crafting for it when I got married in 2010 and showed some of the tutorials from the crafts that we made for my wedding.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was a lot of paper flowers at that time. It was like we made these huge oversized paper flowers back when there were no paper flowers. So it was kind of I didn't know it would start this push into paper flowers. Otherwise, I probably would have gone more into that direction. But for me, I've never liked to be pigeonholed into one specific thing. Like it makes me feel really cornered. So I just like to try out things. And my emphasis rather than on a specific niche of crafting is a type of feeling or a type of expression. So I really like color. I
Mm-hmm.
really like interiors. I really like patterns. So I'm just looking to create things that fit more into my lifestyle than a specific medium or a specific type of craft. I've thought about niching down, like, oh, maybe I'll only do paper flowers, maybe I'll only do fabric crafts, maybe I'll only do paper crafts, but I just cannot do it.
No, and and it's so interesting, when you're working on stuff, ideas come from different places. So being able to do this one thing and then get an idea from here and try it in this other space where you wouldn't have thought of that. You wouldn't have had the tools for that or techniques or other stuff. They feed each other.
Yeah, and I mean, I look back at my career now. I never would have anticipated doing what I do, especially when I paid for a very expensive graduate degree, but here I am.
Mine are deep.
Um, So I mean, even looking at this, the timeline. So there was a point where I was really into balloons. I created this balloon art, and then that kind of went bananas. But then it was like trying out different types of things because I kind of like not knowing how things work. I like not being an expert at something. Um, and because I haven't been an expert at things, I think I must approach it differently. Like
Hmm.
for example, the balloon arch that I created that in 2014, and it was like this. balloon arch that we put, kind of like the balloon arches you see now but that didn't really exist at the time. And we put flowers in it. And looking back, the tutorial I first created for that was crazy. When I talk with balloon artists and they're like, "Oh, you could have just done this." And I was like, "Oh, I had no idea."
Right.
Because I didn't look at a single tutorial because I wasn't interested in doing it correctly so much as how I wanted it to look. And that's the way that many things are. I'd rather not know and try and figure it out in the way that I think is most interesting.
Hmm.
And then maybe I'll learn how to do it properly later when I find out that other people actually know how to do it. But it's the same with many other projects that I've attempted. Again, I'd rather focus on making something beautiful and something that maybe hasn't been seen before than doing it in the right way.
And I think that's so I talk about this. So I teach sometimes for quilting. And when I introduce something, I say, this is the way that I do it. That's best for me. This may not be the best way to do it for you. And I think that idea is a great way to approach things because even if you are reading, tutorials or patterns or other things, it may not be the best way for you. For example, I'm left-handed. I do things all sorts of weird ways because half the tools aren't even made to work with the hands that I have. So there's all sorts of reasons and ways to do something, and there's correctly is always, I find it more subjective, and I don't think everybody has that same mentality. Have you heard, I know you do fabric, have you heard of the quilt police?
No.
No, the quilt police are they just like to squish the joy out of things. They're the people that come up to you and tell you you didn't do this correctly. Your corners aren't square. All of the you shoulds. So those are the quilt police kind of people. So I think having that mentality of I want to do something beautiful, I want to do something in a way that makes sense to me is like it's the anti-quilt police mentality. It's like you're working within what is your framework rather than the correct framework.
Okay, and so that actually makes a lot more sense because when I think of some of these more specific type crafts like quilting, like embroidery, like any any type of needlepoint or sewing, in my mind, I know there's a more correct way to do it.
Right.
And so it scares me from ever entering into that world. And so I think that's probably why I haven't done too much of it because I know that it's deeply rooted and there's instructions and there's people who have been doing it for years. And I have actually, you say quilt police, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, actually, I have heard of this,
Yeah.
but I didn't know like how deep it is. Like I'm not interested in someone who will police me. So I think
Right.
that's why I've never really dug into it. If I know that, like I as a kid, I used to love embroidery, but I knew I was doing it in my own way. But if I know that someone's going to critique the backside of my work and
Yeah.
say like, "Oh, that is exactly what you should," then that's not appealing to me, and so I won't do it.
Yeah.
And maybe that's more of a confidence thing. Maybe I should have more confidence in just not caring. But I mean, at the same time, I respect the art of these really traditional crafts.
Hmm.
And so, like, I pay homage to those who do it in a really respectful way. Um, I think, and quilting is such a great example of it. I know the world of quilting is something I don't know too much about, even though I have a line of quilting fabrics.
And a second one
Um,
out. I've already asked. There is a second one on the way. I'm very excited about it. I have the first one. It's in the other room. So
yeah,
yes. Uh-huh.
that's true. And I think because I know it's so deep and it's such a particular audience, like it's a little frightening to me.
Well, and we were talking about this. This is, I think, a good segue into something else. Is that so before we started recording, I was talking about how I've always thought it was really interesting with the house that Lars built with Lars that you have done all of these very cool heritage crafts, looked at different, specialties, different things around the world, and given them either your unique spin or, even as far as incorporating them into your house with like the wooden staircase carvings and looking at all different sorts of things. And a lot of the times talking of the quilt police or different things like that, or if I tell people that I'm a quilter, they're like, oh, I thought that's for grandmas. And that is never a conversation that I've seen with any of your stuff. Is like you are taking this heritage thing and it is very much alive and fresh, and you are trying something new with it. And I've always thought that was very cool with the house that Lars built.
Well, thank you. That's really great feedback to hear because maybe because I'm not seeped in one particular craft like quilting, where I don't know other quilters. I mean, I know some just because we've now worked with or seen what the creations that people have made. But maybe if I was in one craft, then I would really know more about it. But I guess I've never really thought of it in that way as not your grandmother's craft. Like I love my I love my grandmother.
Right,
And and I love the history of them all, but I don't like to do things just because they're they're done all the time or because there's a long history. I always am looking for a way to make it feel fresh, whether it's through the color selections or whether it's through the patterns or whether it's through like it doesn't interest me to just recreate.
right.
It interests me to do it in a fresh way, but honoring the history of it because I love both things. So maybe that's why it's like I love it all. So maybe I don't see a need to like to diss my grandma.
Right. I was like, my grandma was cool back in when she was doing stuff like that too. It was like just because it's
Yeah.
it's of a certain time frame doesn't mean that it wasn't cutting edge then too. It was like there's all sorts
It
of cool
absolutely
stuff.
was cutting edge,
Yeah,
especially like I mean seeing the things that I mean if you look at the roles of women like women were oftentimes, at home and doing incredible things with the things they did at home.
right,
And I think it's really inventive and imaginative how they created beauty from being in one place.
right.
I mean, that's not just really that's not every woman, but my grandmother had the most magical sewing room and I was just in awe of that sewing room. She collected fabrics from all over the world and she taught me how to sew and and so for me it doesn't I just feel I guess more um in like I want to honor who she is and the women who came before her, but it doesn't interest me to like keep it stodgy. Like I think we can create our own voice and that can be beautiful too.
Well, it's like if they want to experiment, but they are just used to, I follow this pattern, I pick up this kit,
Oh,
I do this thing, is like I want to, break out of the mold a little bit. I want to make it a little bit more me, but I don't know where to start.
yeah, well, I think there's some things that like if we're so you mentioned this project, I call them heirloom Christmas ornaments. They're you can print photos on a printer on fabric.
Hmm.
And so we have this tutorial, and I think there's probably some things that are helpful to follow instructions too, but I think and it's all pretty simple. Um, even if you're not much of a crafter, but this project is really for those who love to honor their family heritage or their family members. I've had people make these heirloom family ornaments of like their dad just died and they made them for all of their siblings for Christmas. I've heard of those stories.
Hmm.
And so they're not necessarily the biggest crafter, but it's more of like the intention, like what a beautiful sentiment to receive that gift.
Right.
And then I think artistry can come out in how we applied artistry is by embroidering little little flourishes on these black and white fabric ornaments so that it feels custom and fun rather than just like a basic black and white photo on fabric.
Yep.
And that's where you can really like have a good time and not be so concerned with like perfectly matched stitches or like no one re other than maybe the quilting police, no one really cares how perfect your stitches are. You know, maybe
Right.
your grandmother does. I don't know, but I to me, I don't care so much as I want it to feel fun and exuberant
Hmm.
and hopefully that like exuberance of craft and expressing yourself can be like a good time or even inviting some friends over to have a little craft night. Just making it something that's memorable and joyful. To me, those are like that's the takeaway that I want someone to feel when they're making something that we make. Because that's the way I feel when I think of the project or concept it out. Like, I hope that these colorful, filled projects are like, I hope you also feel that.
Right. So talk me through, you say you concepted out. And like, and I know it's different because you've got more things that you have to think about. Well, I'm assuming this. I'm assuming that you have more things that you have to think about when you're coming up with a new project or a new plan. It's like, what does, coming up with a concept or figuring out what new thing you're going to do you have a process for that? Or is it just like, I have a small piece of paper here, I'm going to draw this idea in about the size of a postage stamp, and hopefully no one ever throws this away. Not that I do that,
Yeah.
but
No, we of course never do that.
no, no.
Um, well, yeah, I mean, we do some at this point, we've done so many different things. So we have a line um of many products. We have collaborations, we have fabric, we have planners, we have cell phone cases, we have dresses, we have what else do we have? And then we have our own shop where we sell our templates of crafts. We have a blog that's been the longest running thing where we show people how to make different types of craft projects. And then we have our Instagram where I kind of just show like fun dresses that I love to wear.
Right?
And so because we dip our toes into so many different things, there's no one set way to do anything.
Yep.
And so if it's a product collaboration, maybe let's say it's our collection with Fabulism, our fabrics.
Hmm.
That one started out, with reaching out to Andrea is who owns Fabulism. She's so lovely. And from the beginning, she was just like, whatever you want to do. And to me, I'm like, oh, okay. But there's also a beauty to the technique and to what the end result is because it's woven fabrics, which is different than whatever anything we've done before. Because we have fabric on spoon flower too, and that's like print on demand.
Right.
But it's such a lovely process. So it's really learning about how woven fabrics or anything woven works, and it's more grid.
Hmm.
You can't do anything that you want. You can't do like perfect circles.
No.
So it's learning how the weavers work and then I concepted out like I really wanted a Swedish t feeling collection.
Hmm.
So I'll create a vision board, the theme of the collection, and then she kind of runs with it. Her name is Garrett, and she's so wonderful. And she's working on our second one right this moment.
Cool.
And probably as we speak. And so I knew I wanted some sort of flower fabric in this woven collection, but it's figuring out how do we make flowers
Right.
because those are very organic looking. So it's figuring out a lot of different things. And then what Andrea gave us a lot of freedom with was colors.
Yes.
And color to me is very important. I want it to feel like it reads very Lars, but also works for her brand. And then it's learning more about the quilting community. What size of patterns work in quilts? Like, is it
Right.
very small? What size can we do? Because I love oversized things, but those quilting needs smaller
It,
proportions.
yeah. And
And I'm
especially with
sure you
a
could.
woven too, is like having the floats in there is like we call them so I've worked in a shop before and we did wovens and stuff like that. And so there were some really beautiful woven fabrics, but we call them toe catchers. Like anything that has those long floats and you're going to get a toe in them and then suddenly that beautiful fabric that you have.
Is no longer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so Andrew is really good about figuring out how to remedy that. And that's why it was a wonderful collaboration. So we would bring our dream, like we cut a lot of things,
Mm-hmm.
um, bring our dreams, and then she would figure out how to make the logistics happen on him. That's one of my favorite collaborations we've done because of seeing the amount of people who have used it
Yeah.
and created absolute magic with it versus, like we have a cell phone case collection that
Yeah.
I clearly use, but like you put it on a cell phone, but the magic created from fabrics, there's nothing like it.
Yeah. And also those fabrics were hard to get. They sold out fast, man. Like the Carl print, you can't find that. That was gone. Like, and I think the reprint was gone. Yeah, anyway. But
Yeah, no, it was such a surprise to us because we're not really in the fabric world
mhm.
or in the quilting world. So we were like, wait, did we find our people whole time? And that's why it's been so exciting to us to like keep going with it and like learn more about it. It's been such a wonderful experience.
Good. I'm glad. And I will be right there with my wallet ready for the next collection. So that's good. So,
Well, the next collection, I kid you not, because we're finalizing it this week. It
oh,
is
okay.
going to be absolutely mesmerizing. It's going to be like I can't even wait to show you because I maybe I should give you a sneak peek after this, but it's going to be so beautiful.
I promise I'm very good at secrets. I just scream a lot inside. It's fine. It's fine.
Okay,
So,
good, good, good.
yeah. So what if you were to tell people, I try and keep I could ramble for forever, but obviously that's probably not the best thing. Whatever. No one lets me out of my basement to talk to anyone anymore. So if you were to have someone walk up to you, what would be the one thing that you would want them to try to like make their creativity grow? Was like to try to experiment to play. What would be like just think about this and then let the other stuff fall away.
Yeah, well, I guess the thing in my brain right now is the quilting police. And I obviously don't know much about it, but I think anytime you're concerned about critique,
Yeah.
that and fear, that is not conducive to creativity.
Yeah.
Um, and knowing that there's a certain rigid way that something will be made. So I think really I when if you need like a step-by-step way to practice this, I always go back to inspiration. And creating some sort of whether it's Pinterest
Mm-hmm.
or like a visual mood board, I want to feel like I'm living the life I want to be living. So I will collect images that really inspire me. Maybe it's the type of project you want to make, or maybe it's a dress that somebody's wearing, or maybe it's a shoe or maybe it's a lovely landscape. I don't know. Go into something that truly inspires you and look at it and take that feeling from it and then go forth and create because there's nothing worse than being told that you shouldn't be doing something when that is
Yeah.
exactly why we should be. Like that is exactly why we are here is to create beauty and and to live in that. So I just feel like life is too short to have restrictions and to not take advantage of the beauty that is around us.
Yes. I would wear that on a t-shirt. Tote bags, t-shirts, tattoos, all of them. Let's just put it
All the
everywhere.
things
All the things.
everywhere. Send me your tattoos. I want to see it.
I do have quilting tattoos, not I do.
Oh, good.
But okay. Where can people find you and get all the good stuff?
You can find me on thehousethatlarsbuilt.com. We have our shop.thehousethatlarsbuilt.com. We have Instagram at House Lars Built, Pinterest.
Your Pinterest is really good, by
Oh,
the way. Always good. So,
I just love, I do love, I love collecting beautiful things.
mm,
It's one of my happy places still, even though it's not for everybody.
yeah,
Yeah, but actively on Instagram there, and I'll nearly always respond to a DM if I can. So if you have specific questions, DM me.
perfect. Thank you. I appreciate you joining us today. I love watching everything that you do, and thank you so much for joining us for creativity and 30 days of dopamine. And we will see you guys next time. Bye.